Good afternoon, everyone. Am I audible to you? Just write in the chat box. Okay. So let me share my today's presentation slide. Just a minute. So all of you clearly see the slide on your screen. Just write in the chat box so that we can proceed further. Okay. So let's start today's topic. In the previous class, we already discussed the internet and intranet. So in today's class, we are going to study the extranet. So, as the name suggests, Externet refers to network within an organization using internet to connect to the outsiders in a controlled manner. So, as you can see in the diagram, that there is there is an extranet through which the systems are connected. So, this is the extranet cable, and the internet is basically connected to the externet with the use of firewall. So this is the way by which we can connect the externet with the internet. So the externet helps to connect businesses with their customers and suppliers, and therefore allows working in a collaborative manner. So basically the externet use is for businesses to connect their customers and suppliers. So moving to the next slide. So now the implementation of Externet. So Externet is implemented as a virtual private network, which is abbreviated as VPN, because it uses internet to connect to corporate organizations, and there is always a threat to information security. So basically, Externet is implemented with the virtual private network, and it is used by the big organizations or companies in order to enhance their security feature. So as you can see in the diagram, that a VPN tunnel is there which behaves as the internet, and this tunnel basically connects the two two networks. And here in all the networks there is the use of IPEX server, which is abbreviated as IPSEC, and its full form is Internet Protocol Security Architecture, in order to enhance the security feature uh, in the extranet. So this IPEX server is basically connected with the hub of the other uh, network, and in the same way the iPad server of uh, the other computer network is connected with the hub of the other network. So basically VPN uses this IPsec protocol to provide secure transactions by adding an additional security layer to TCP IP protocol. So basically this iPad server is needed in order to enhance the security feature in the extranet. So all of you understand it till now? Just write in the chat box so that we can proceed further. Okay. So moving to the next slide. So now the next topic is advantages of extranet. So extranet to be a successful model for all kinds of businesses, whether small or big. So there are certain benefits of Externet, and these benefits are categorized in terms of employees, customers, partners, suppliers. So as far as the employee benefits are considered, the employee will get the real-time market intelligence, uh, improved channel management, the access to invoicing information, uh, are the benefits which are being taken by the employees. As far as the customers are considered, the sales force effectiveness increases, the increased productivity of customers, online order entry oblique tracking, facilities provided to the customer, online customer support has been there. As far as the benefits of partners are considered, the reduced time to market, partner collaboration, improved procurement, Twitter rollouts are there. So these are the benefits which are taken by the partners. In order, the other benefits which are taken by the suppliers are supply chain integration, deliver sales information to partners, platform for web-based EDI. So these are the benefits which are being used by the suppliers in context to the partners. So in totality, there are many benefits for these four components of the extranet. So you need to remember these benefits. Now moving to the next slide. So the next topic is issues in extranet. So there are certain issues in extranet. So first issue is of hosting. So whether the extranet pages will be held, that is, who will host the extranet pages. So in this context there are two choices. So the first one is host it on your own server, means the company will host the extranet pages on their own server. And the second point is or the second choice is host it with an internet service provider in the same way as web pages. So ISP, as all of us know that ISP services or internet service provider services are being provided by nowadays by Geo, by Airtel, by BSNL. So these companies are providing the ISP services. So by hosting external pages on your own server requires high bandwidth. If first choice has been used by the company, then it requires high bandwidth internet connection, which is also very costly. So just remember, if a company wants to host the Externet pages on their own server, then they require a higher bandwidth internet connection, which is also very costly. Now, the second issue in concerned with the Externet is security. So additional firewall security is required if you host Externet pages on your own server, which result in a complex security mechanism and increase workload. So if the Extranet pages are hosted by the own server of the company, it requires the complex security mechanism which is being provided by the firewall, and it also increases the workload on the server. Now, the third issue in concern with the externet are assessing issues. So, information cannot be assessed without internet connection. So, in order to access the information from the externet pages, the company have to use the internet connection. And the internet connection is also of very uh, a high bandwidth internet connection. So, however, information can be accessed in intranet without internet connection. So, just remember the important point. In case of extranet, the internet connection is mandatory, but in the case of intranet, the internet connection cannot be mandatory. So these are the important issues which are been dealing by the extranet. So all of you understand it till now? Just write in the chat box so that we can proceed further. Okay. Now moving to the next slide. Now Now, next topic is comparison between the internet, and externet. So, this question is very important as far as the RTU examination is considered. This type of question can be asked in the 2 mark question that write the comparison between the internet, intranet, and externet. Uh, so, let us discuss. So, the comparison has been done with certain properties. So the first property is accessibility of network. So in the case of internet, it is public network. In the case of intranet, it is considered as the private network, and in the case of extranet, it is also in the private network. The second property is availability. So internet, in the case of internet, it is a global system, whereas in the case of internet, it is specific to an organization. So every organization is using its own intranet. In the case of externet, to share information with suppliers and vendors, it makes the use of public network. Now the third property of difference is coverage. So in the case of internet, it is available all over the world, whereas in the case of intranet, it is restricted area up to an organization only. Whereas in the case of Externet, it is restricted area up to an organization and some of its stakeholders. So in the stakeholders, we can also consider here the suppliers and the vendors also. Uh, Now the fourth point of difference is owner. So in the case of internet, no one is the owner of the internet, whereas in the case of intranet, a single organization is the owner of the specific or particular intranet, and in the case of extranet, single or oblique multiple organizations are the owners of the extranet. So the fifth point of difference is users. So in the case of internet, uh, general public are the users of the internet, whereas in the case of intranet, employees of the organization are the users. In the case of externet, employees of the organizations which are connected. It also uses the vendors and the suppliers of that particular organization. Now the sixth point of difference is security. So in the case of internet, it is dependent on the user of the device connected to network. Mm, in the case of intranet, it is enforced through firewall. So here firewall is needed in the case of intranet. Now, in the case of externet, it is enforced through firewall that separates internet and extranet. So this diagram of extranet we already discussed in our previous slide. The last point of difference is relation. So in the case of internet, it is a network of networks. So basically, this is the definition of the internet. Internet is basically the network of networks. In the case of internet, it is derived from internet, and in the case of externet, it is derived from intranet. So just remember these important points of difference between the internet, intranet, and externet. So just remember these points. Now, all of you understand this point till now. Just write in the chat box so that we can proceed further. Okay. Now, moving to the next slide. Now, now the next topic we are going to study is email. which is also known as the electronic mail. So email is a service which allows us to send the message in electronic mode over the internet. So it offers an efficient, inexpensive, and real time mean of distributing information among people. So this is the basic definition of email, that it is a service which is used to send messages in electronic mode over the internet. So for using the email, we need to use the email address. So each user of email is assigned a unique name of his or her email account. So this name is known as the email address. Different users can send and receive messages according to the email address. So email address is very important in relation to the email. So email is generally of the form username at the rate domain name. So this is the general format of writing the email address. First you write the username, then at the rate sign, and after the at the rate sign the domain name is there. So for example, if it is written that webmaster@gmail.com is an email address where webmaster is the username and the gmail.com is the domain name. So the username and the domain name are separated by the at the rate symbol. So this symbol, which is written as is called as the at the rate symbol. So email addresses are not case sensitive. So these addresses are not case sensitive means that the capital letters or the capital characters, as well as the lower uh, characters are having the same value. So spaces are not allowed in the email addresses. Just remember this point, that spaces are not allowed in the email address. However, underscore can be used in the case of email addresses. So these are the important points in relation to the email. So just remember these points. Now moving to the next slide. Now, the next topic is email components. So, email message comprises of the following components. So, as you can see on your screen, there are certain components by which email uh, is composed of. So, first is the first component is email header. Then the second is the greeting. The third component is text, and the fourth component is signature. So let us discuss these components in detail in the next slide. So moving to the next slide. So the first component of email is email header. So the email header part comprises of the following fields. So these are the fields of the email header. So first part is from. The from field indicates the sender's address. That is, who sends the email address, the email. The second part of the email header is date. So the date field indicates the date when the email was sent. The third part of the email header is to. So the to field indicates the recipient's address. That is, to whom the email is sent. Means who is means the receiver of the email address. Now the fourth part of the header is the subject. The subject field indicates the purpose of email. The subject should be precise and to the point. The next part is CC. So CC stands for carbon copy. It includes those recipient addresses whom we want to keep informed, but not exactly the recipient, the intended recipient. The sixth part is BCC. So BCC stands for blind carbon copy. So it is used when we do not want one or more of the recipients to know that someone else was copied on the message. So basically, BCC is used when we did not want to disclose the 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 person at the to field and the CCC in the CC field, that we are going to send the this mail to other recipients also. So that's why it is called as BCC. It means the blind carbon copy. So these are the six parts of the email header. So you need to just remember these parts of the email header. So all of you understand it till now? Just write in the chat box so that we can proceed to the next slide. Okay. So moving to the next slide. So the other components of email message are, the second component is greeting. So the greeting is the opening of the actual message. So we start with any email by these salutations like hello sir or dear students, etc. Now the third component of email is text. So it represents the actual content of the message. So it includes uh, the body of the letter basically, or the application, the body of the application. Now the fourth component is the signature. So this is the final part of the email message. It includes the name of the sender, the address, and the contact number of the sender. So who is sending this email, its address, its contact number, and other important in personal information can be shared in the case of signature field. So remember these points. So moving to the next slide. So next topic is, so only 2 minutes are remaining. So we will discuss the advantages and disadvantages of the email in the next class. So thank you very much for attending this class. So now you can leave this meeting.